Thank you again for joining me for this discussion of the USCIS Site Visit Program. My name is Emily Newman, Immigration Attorney with Reddy & Newman PC, located in Houston, Texas. We left off talking about the mechanics of the site visit, what it actually happens, what should you be prepared for. So the visit typically lasts 15 to 30 minutes, sometimes longer, but I would say most of them are about 15 minutes and they're over with. Again, they're normally prompted by a particular case, so they will be asking questions about one particular employee to begin with. They may venture into other areas depending on what they find about that one employee. They will be wanting to see the pay records of that employee. They are interested to find out whether your company is paying the proper salary, the salary listed on the H-1B petition, and also if they're at a client site that you're paying the prevailing wage for that location. It's likely that they'll want to take a tour of your office or facility, and they may even take photographs. Part of the purpose of this program is just to verify the existence of your business location. They want to make sure that you have a physical location where employees can actually come to work on a daily basis. In addition, they will definitely be asking if the employee is on site, and if they are, they will probably interview that employee, ask very similar questions that they ask the employer regarding the job duties, what the salary is, have you ever been benched, any complaints about the employer, anything like that. If the employee is off-site, working at the client site, they may ask you to try to get in contact with the employee while they're there, but that seems to be not very common. Usually they just say, okay, that's fine, we'll continue with the rest of the visit. Also, if there are other coworkers on site or the supervisor or manager of the worker, they may also want to interview them, again asking what the job title is, what the person's working on, making sure that everything is consistent with the H-1B petition. So what should you be doing to prepare for the site visit? Because as I mentioned, they are increasing so much in 2010, it is very likely that at some point this year you will be visited. So it's best to prepare now, and it will make it much easier when the visit actually happens. One thing that I recommend would be to put a list together of all of your current H-1B employees. Make sure you keep it up to date, and this list should include the following information: the employee's name, their job title and salary, and it's important that the job title and salary match what's listed on the H-1B petition. That way you have a quick reference guide. The minute the officer walks in the door, you can grab your spreadsheet and say, yes, I know exactly what each of my employees are working on. I know exactly how many H-1B workers I have. You're not going to provide this spreadsheet to the officer while they're there, but at least you have the information handy so that you can properly answer all of their questions, and everything you say is consistent with what's provided in the H-1B petition. I also recommend in the spreadsheet that you keep a track of the work location where each employee is placed. You should have the full address on there, the name of the client. I also recommend including the name of the vendor or the middle layer if you don't have a direct contract with your client. They're going to want to know the supervisor's name at the client site and their contact information, because it's highly likely that once the site visit is over, they may call up that supervisor just to verify what you've already told them. In addition, as I mentioned, it's important for you as the employer to be familiar with the job title, salary, and the duties listed on the H-1B petition. It's also important to make sure the employee is aware of what was listed on the petition. I know especially in the IT industry, the job titles can vary, and some of them are very broad, such as systems analyst or programmer analyst, or they can be very specific regarding the specific skill set of the person. So most likely you've mentioned something very generic on your H-1B petition, so you want to make sure that the employee is aware of that, so they're not giving the officer a completely different job title than what's listed in the petition. The same thing goes for the salary. Make sure that the employee is aware of the salary listed in the petition. Also, there are certain sections of the petition that I would recommend that you give copies to the employees. Usually the petition would include an employer letter that describes the employee's job duties, describes the terms of employment, the education background of the employee, and talks about their prior work history. So when they're answering questions about their job duties, about their education background, everything they're saying should be consistent with what's in the H-1B petition. Also, it's recommended to inform your clients about this FDNS program because, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's possible that the field office investigator might be actually going to the client site if you listed that on your petition rather than coming to your headquarters, because they want to talk to the client directly, confirm the details of the project, and make sure the employee is actually working on their site. And one last thing that you should do is to designate one person within your company who's going to be the contact person for any site visit that may happen, so that whoever happens to be at the front of the office when the officer walks in, that person can immediately say, okay, I'm sure it's this person that you want to speak with, they have all the information, let me go get them, rather than that person trying to field questions on their own that they may not know all the information for. Also, it's likely that the officer may ask to look at some basic documents such as payroll records, certainly for the individual employee that they're coming to talk about, but they may also want to see overall payroll records of the company. So you should have these at least easily accessible. You certainly don't have to hand them over if they don't ask for them, but just keep them available in case they do want to take a look at them. That would probably include the most recent year W-2s as well. Also, I would recommend having your client contracts and work orders organized and easily accessible as well, because usually when they're asking about that specific employee, if they're on a client contract, they are going to want to see a copy of that contract just to confirm the validity of the project. So if you don't have that handy, it becomes more difficult during the site visit. You want to be able to provide all the information they're asking for then and there, so you don't have to worry about it later. Also, if you've mentioned at all in your petitions that some employees might work on an in-house project or an internal project, make sure to keep a file available describing what that project is. You probably submitted some documents to USCIS when filing the H-1B petition that gave a description of the project, so have those handy. Get some screenshots printed out, or if it's something that's up and running, you can show them on the computer, this is what we've developed recently, and this is what this employee's worked on, because they do want to see that those internal projects really do exist. Finally, I would recommend having the H-1B petition and the LCA easily accessible so that you can confirm any details that you mentioned in there while the site visit is going on. This is required for your public access files anyway, so it should be there, but just make sure you have everything organized so you can quickly find it and be done with it. And then finally, not necessarily specifically to site visits, but just anytime you're dealing with immigration with H-1Bs, you want to make sure that you're paying the proper wage, because that is one of the main things they're looking at besides fraud. They want to make sure that everyone is being paid properly. So make sure that you are paying the prevailing wage that's in the location where the person is actually working. Okay, things that you should do during the site visit. Make sure that you get the name, title, and contact information of the FDNS immigration officer. You don't want them to leave your site and have later realize you had questions, or maybe you said something wrong, or didn't provide all the proper information, and then you can't get a hold of them to try to correct it quickly. Make sure that someone, as I mentioned, having a designated representative of your company, make sure that they are there for the entire time and can show the person around. Try to request that an attorney be present. They'll most likely tell you no, but it is certainly a good idea to try, and if your attorney's not nearby, see if they can be contacted by phone as well. I will continue the rest of the presentation in the next download, so please stay tuned.